Hey there, friends. A little bit different video for you guys today. I was able to reach out to a guy named Trevor in the Newport, Tennessee area, right kind of northwest of where the main devastation is in that whole Asheville area in the Tennessee, North Carolina areas. Trevor was kind enough to talk to me about a lot of things, what he's seeing on the ground, some of the reports of federal officials, FEMA, whomever, refusing shipments that are coming in because they have to either be approved or they take the goods. You guys have probably heard that too. But we also go over some of the legitimate areas that you can make donations. As we all know, of course, us here in the South with in Louisiana dealing with the hurricanes all the time, we've learned over time, especially the federal organizations that you don't want to give money to, Red Cross included. I don't believe in any of those guys. They embezzle the money, they keep the money, most of it goes in somebody's pocket that's doing busy work, and it doesn't go to the people actually doing the work. And Trevor was kind enough to share a lot of that stuff with us and talk about what he's seeing right down in the middle of it. And I want to bring that to you guys real quick.
Guys, I'm here with Trevor from the Newport, Tennessee area. And Trevor's been doing a little bit of work in the area. I actually ran across his account on X, some of the footage that they've shown out there, and wanted to make sure, obviously, that I wasn't interfering with any of the restoration efforts or any of the assistance that they're doing out there. So I'm only going to keep him for a few minutes. Trevor, I appreciate you being here, first of all. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So, in a nutshell, you're in the Newport area. You are in an area of damage, but you're not in the devastated area. So you're actually able to lend a hand, and your family is, which I mean, I commend you for this. Your family is doing a little bit better than a lot of these people who literally have nothing right now. I mean,
Oh,
you're coming from your home right now, right?
we're blessed. We're the lucky ones. I mean, like I said, we haven't had clean water, utility water in a week. This that, but I mean, we're blessed to have a house still and the family still.
Right. Well, I was going over a lot of stuff and looking at the devastation, and some of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to somebody from the area is we keep hearing different reports. And I know you don't have confirmation on any of this, but you are boots on the ground, so to speak. So I trust what you have to say rather than a whole lot of other people, especially the mainstream media. I don't trust anything they have to
Right.
share with us. In fact, I don't think we're getting the full story from them anyway. Um, I'm more concerned with some of the reports that I'm hearing about the FEMA help, the confiscation of supplies. I know you can't tell me without a shadow of a doubt. Tell me what you've heard in the area in those types of efforts, and as far as trying to supply some additional help to the area.
Right. So what I've heard, and of course we take everything with a grain of salt. Situations like this. Uh, there's an attempt at Davy Crockett High School up around the Jonesboro, Johnson City area. There's a church up there collecting donations, volunteering, just like everybody else is. And they said FEMA, some sort of government official, had come and said, hey, we're going to take this to our donation site so we can approve everything. And you guys aren't approved with us to volunteer, so we just need you to go home. And what I gathered from that incident was the church said no. He said, you guys can, this is ours. You're not, I mean, we're not going to help. You can go somewhere else at that. That was one instance. A pilot, what is his name? I believe he was working with Hoist Operations. Not 100% sure on that name, but he was doing helicopter rescues near the Asheville area. He went and picked up an old couple, an old lady. He had to leave his co-pilot, his son, on the mountain with the old man. He could only really take one or two passengers back at a time. He gets back. The fire chief, which is kind of a strange position to threaten arrest from, but the fire chief told him, hey, you go back, and if you go back and come back with another person, you'll be arrested. And that guy said, my son's up there. He said, I'm going back to get him. And that's what he did. And I'm sure he flew to another landing zone away from that fire chief. Then a couple other ham radio recordings we've heard from guys with hams that they're trying to get volunteers and people up to these places and mules and packing supplies up to these people. And they've had reports on the ham radio. There's people blocking roads, government officials blocking roads that aren't local. So
Is it
that's kind
telling
of
you why they're blocking those? Is it for safety reasons, or
uh, I would assume,
it's
I would
probably what they're
assume that's
claiming?
the claim, yeah. Which I understand.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a disaster area, and you don't want unexperienced people coming up here and making and getting themselves in trouble. That's understandable, absolutely. But we didn't see a person from the government for
right.
4 to 5 days. I mean, there's 10, 12, 15 private helicopters running in and out of these mountains every single day for the last week, all on
Private
their own dime.
helicopters.
Do
Yeah,
what?
private
Oh
helicopters.
yeah,
Yeah, and to your point about the, I guess from a safety standpoint or it being unsafe, this is just me.
hmm
I live in South Louisiana. If and when we usually have several of our own natural disasters, hurricane related, I trust the people of this area who know the area, know the terrain, and they're used to traveling that terrain to be a
yeah,
lot safer than the people who are not from here, from the federal government. So I would be willing to bet
absolutely.
whoever the people are in your area are probably a whole lot better equipped from a knowledge standpoint and a experience standpoint to
Yeah, I mean,
traverse those same roads that they're trying to keep you off of, because somebody from Washington D.C. does not know what you know
hmm
as far as a shortcut, a back way, or something like that.
right. Yeah, if you're not from here, I mean, you're not gonna have cell service up there. I mean, if you're not from here and this bridge is out and you don't know you can go up this ridge and connect over here and come back down the mountain this way, you're stuck.
Right.
And I mean, and it's just, I mean, it's people of the Appalachia. I mean, we're used to surviving. We're used to being around here. We're used to farming and canning. And I mean, we know the flora, the fauna here. We know what rivers have potential to do this and get dangerous where. And,
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same down there in Louisiana. I trust a bunch of Bayou boys before I trust anybody coming from DC.
that's right. I'm curious what you had mentioned earlier, and we talked about this before we got on the phone, that most of the flooding, or at least the saturation, started to take place and accumulate between Friday and Saturday morning. And you had mentioned that it wasn't until yesterday, at the earliest, possibly Tuesday, that you saw anybody from the federal government in any kind of assistance capacity.
Oh, yeah, easily. I've
And
seen
what,
some
what was
videos of,
that you saw? Like, what was the first, I guess, initial that you saw somebody from the federal government, somebody official coming in there to assistance? What were they offering and what were they there to do?
oh, personally, in my ventures, I've not seen one. But I've seen, I think it was a TikTok of a trucker that was being escorted up to Asheville with a load of water. Uh, I've seen a couple of videos of different disaster people. I've not seen FEMA branding. I don't know if they brand like that. I haven't seen FEMA branding or a government branding from any video I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think the trucker I saw, he said he was a trucker for FEMA. So I saw that he had brought a load of water up to Asheville. That's most of it. I mean, we have a lot of Tennessee Highway Patrol here helping. I know we have. I believe DeSantis had sent the Florida Guard up here to help out. It's probably some of their Blackhawks that are up over Asheville. I mean, really, it's local businesses, local people, local helicopters, private helicopters. I mean,
You
local search and rescue guys, Carolina Emergency Response have been killing it over there. I mean, those guys are legit. The Cajun Navy from down with y'all, dude, they've been a blessing up here. They've been killing it.
I'm curious on the FEMA taking the supplies. Did anybody explain to you? I know they're saying that they want to approve the supplies. What are they having to approve? And I don't understand that whole. If it's water, right? It's wet. Are they trying to see how wet it is?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know what couldn't be used now. I mean, people, everything from the basics. You need food and water, but even in my county, you don't have a way to wash dishes right now. You
Right.
need paper plates. I mean, people further up, if they're on gas, which I mean, a lot of folks are, propane. That propane could have run out if it's not refilled
That's
soon.
right.
The power's out, your pumps are gone. They need ways to cook food. They need charcoal. They need I mean, it's almost anything and everything. Bug spray, search and rescues. And there's a lot of hornets' nests, yellow jackets' nests that have been stirred up, and a lot of search and rescue guys are getting ate up by yellow jackets.
I actually saw a
And
post from the former NASCAR driver, Greg Biffle, where he was mentioning what he was dropping off. And one of the things that he said he dropped off was EpiPen. And he said that's why a lot of the bees and the yellow jackets up in the trees are down and that the bugs are just attacking people.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure there's people with allergies that lost EpiPens too that just don't. I mean, those things are expensive.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, insulin. Old folks running out of insulin on the top of the mountains, running out of ice for the insulin, running out of oxygen in their tanks. I mean, it's everything.
Well, I've got a pretty cynical view of the federal government, especially FEMA. My thinking is they're taking these supplies so they can take credit for the distribution of those supplies. I think that there's never been an instance where they didn't politicize some kind of a tragedy like this. So honestly, that's just my fault. And I might be wrong, but I think that's why they're taking
No, I mean, I'm on that same track with you as, I really do. I want to assume the best in people. I really try to. But you can't be naive, and there's a track record.
Right.
We've seen it over and over again. I mean, our wildfires, 2015, 2016, I know Red Cross took millions in donations. Our biggest help out here was Dolly Parton. I mean,
figure.
Yeah.
It's always a private person that's lending the most effective assistance out there. Let's talk about this is a little bit more of a dark side of this story, but I think it needs to be discussed so people understand this. You and I talked earlier. You were talking about a Google Doc that you mentioned as many as 2,600 missing that are in that database, and only, I guess, a couple of hundred, something like that have been located. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the Google document we have right now, it's constantly being updated through a lady who runs a Facebook page. And we have updates of if they're found deceased or still missing. I hopped on today. It had hit 2,600. And I would say the high end, 35 to 40% found. But that still leaves, well over 1,200, 1,300 people unaccounted for.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. And again, the gory side of what's being seen. I mean, people aren't really talking about it. I think that's why FEMA and a lot of those guys don't want them to see how bad this is. But, I've seen reports or heard reports of bodies in trees. Once the water subsided, they were in trees and they died up there. You mentioned, young children with no clothes on that are pointing out where their dead parents are. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so that comes from, I've seen some swift water rescue teams pull some stuff out of the river that, people were deceased, where the water was so high. I mean, 25, 30 feet in the air, that's where some people got stuck and drowned up there in the trees, and they're still up there. I mean, we haven't been able to quite get to Chimney Rock yet, but what we're seeing in Chimney Rock is the decomposition is becoming a problem with the smell, and just, it's a lot of people. I think the number I saw was close to 150 confirmed deceased.
There's 200 now.
Oh, geez, yeah. I mean, the more we work through the rubble, the more we work through the brush. Yeah. I mean, if your house was swept away, if you're on that roof, I don't know.
Yeah, I told my wife I expect the number to be well over 1,000. I told her, I said, when you have people who have lived a lifetime in a certain area, and this threat has never existed. In fact, you and I talked about the fact that nobody's got flood insurance. Why would you have that? You live in the mountains, So, I mean, these people are not expecting that. They're expecting possibly winds. They're sitting, even if they start to see water accumulate, they're thinking, well, I live in the mountains. I have nothing to worry about. And you don't have a warning whenever that water, upstream from you is coming at you at, 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, and that was a big issue too. Is like we said, a lot of these towns past my immediate Newport, there's no phone service. People may have internet. If you have an iPhone, you can connect and get iMessage. But it just all happens so quick because, we get flash flood warnings. We get those certain areas. It's not a very uncommon thing, a warning.
That's probably mostly foothills,
Right, yeah, in the floodplains where you expect it.
Yeah.
But I mean, from the time that we were hearing about the Waterville Dam potentially overflowing, potentially failing, I mean, 30 minutes if you had service.
That's wild.
Oh yeah.
So, and speaking of composition, you and I talked about this also. You've still got cattle, horses, dogs, animals in the forest here, and all that. I mean, those numbers aren't even being accounted for as far as what was lost out there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm still somewhat close to a drive to Douglas Lake, which is the big reservoir that the Nolichucky and the French Broad flow into. And I've got buddies on boats out there that are just kind of looking around, seeing, just how things are in that reservoir. And I mean, there's dead dogs floating, there's cattle, there's horses, there's propane tanks, there's people's trailers, people's houses, there's medicine bottles, I mean, everything you could think of washes down into that reservoir.
Couple of things that you guys are working on. Tell me a little bit about. You said there were some guys coming in with cadaver dogs and some things you are, a little bit about what your efforts are going to be including.
Yeah, so there's a a great group of guys that messaged me from Washington, PNW SOS, and I mean, they asked what the needs were. We kind of went over, with the updates we had at that time, and I mean, they packed up. They're ready to go. They're flying into Knoxville tonight at midnight, and they've got I think there's a couple. I think ex-Army, some Coast Guard guys. They have dogs that are well trained in search and rescue, and they're bringing the boys out here to really help, all the way across the country. I mean, someone I've never even met. It's incredible, and I mean, that's just one group of many. Like I said, I mean, Carolina Emergency is awesome. Y'all's Cajun Navy has been killing it up here. I've got everybody trying to come help, which is, I mean, great to see. And it's great to see the level of expertise that's willing to come down here, and they understand the severity of it and where their experience can really be utilized.
Well, as far as help, I want to talk about how we can help. Obviously, I mentioned to you that my experience has always been when we've been in these big natural disasters with hurricanes is that do your best to avoid any kind of contact with any federal associated organization.
Mm.
I'm sorry to say this, but I don't believe in the Red Cross. A lot of the other agencies like that, they embezzle the money. It doesn't go where it's supposed to go. Do you know of any local efforts that people can get involved in? And really what would be helpful for us, those that feel totally helpless, we've been through this before, we can't be there to help. We want to be able to send money or whatever we can. Do you know of any place locally that you trust, that you know that assistance is going directly to the people of the Tennessee, North Carolina areas?
Yeah, one of the bigger operations, Samaritan Purse. Great people. I mean, they're from the area. I mean, their stuff happened. They were there on it. I mean, Samaritan Purse are good folks out there.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, Carolina Emergency Response, great folks. Y'all's Cajun Navy, great folks. They have their Venmo up. They're, I mean, airdropping supplies, doing rescues all the time up here. I'm not sure if Grindstone Ministries has a Venmo up on their pages, but those guys are really good. And I mean, and those are just a few. I mean, every church out here. I mean, you can hop on and Facebook and Newport, Tennessee church, and there's a church out here that can accept a donation. And that, I mean, that's the best avenues. I would say the Samaritan Purse guys, the Greg Biffle team, those are probably the largest entities that are really doing really awesome work out here and doing donations. And then everybody down to the church on the corner, to the random guy like me who just posted his Venmo and was lucky enough to have Twitter really support. And I mean, we're getting truckloads and truckloads and truckloads of stuff, man. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'm also going to put in the description of this video, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I'm going to also put ways that they can get their $750 from the federal government, FEMA. I'm so disgusted with that, but you know what? You and I talked earlier, maybe that's a week's worth of groceries. That doesn't really do anything, but it's there. So I'm going to post how to get to it. Unfortunately, it's requiring you to either have an app or cell service, and the places hardest hit don't have that. It's the stupidest thing.
Yeah, it's tough getting service up there. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Nick Sorter and his guys are out there with Starlink doing an incredible job getting to these places and setting up Starlinks and comms for people. So, it's growing. The ability to communicate with these people is growing every day. But yeah, that's just another thing. I mean, it's a lot of old folks, man. They don't want to use a computer, or they may not have a son or daughter to help them with it.
Right. And I mean, you got to figure, do they even have a cell phone that's charged? Because a lot of these people don't have the gas to power a generator or any power to their homes anyway.
Yep.
So very unfortunate. I hate what you guys are going through. I'm going to stay in touch with you. You've got my number.
Yes,
I've
sir.
got yours. Stand by after we get off of here, so I'll get some other information from you. But I appreciate what you're doing. Please keep doing some updates on X. I will share your stuff out there to let people know what's going on. Don't think that it's falling on deaf ears. I mean, we do see what you're doing. And obviously, especially, I think those of us along the Gulf Coast where we have dealt with this every other year, we get a major hurricane, we feel it and we understand what you're going through. And we know what it's like to know that the people who should be helping you are not responding properly. And trust me, y'all have the same type of, I think, internal gumption that we have.
Yeah.
You're not waiting on somebody to come save you. And that's what bothers me most about FEMA getting in the way and halting some of these supplies, because honestly, you're not asking FEMA to help you. You need them to get out of your way.
Yeah, it's like if you're not helping, you're in the way.
That's exactly right. And they are in the way right now. So I hate that for you guys. Look, keep my number, hold on to it. Feel free to reach out to me.
Yes,
I'd love to have some updates from you as things go on. We'll certainly pass the word on. If you find a better way or a faster way, a more effective way where people can help, please share that with me so I can get that information out there as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we'll have a pretty decent operating base set up around the Limestone, Jonesboro area tomorrow, linking up with some ministry groups up there, helping with some search and rescues. So hopefully I will get better specifics as to, exact needs for those people once we get up to them.
Good. I appreciate that, Trevor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Thank you, bud.
Thanks again, Trevor, for the time you spent with me today. Hopefully I didn't take too much away from the efforts there in the North Carolina, Tennessee areas. I do want to point out that, the FEMA money out there, I think that's disgusting and it's an insult that they are only giving $750 to people whenever we're passing out hundreds of billions of dollars to people who are not Americans. So that's disgusting to me, but I would like to encourage people that, you know what, that's your money. So I would encourage you to go ahead and get it. I know it's only about a week's worth of groceries, but go ahead and get it. Apply for it if you can. Again, I think it's silly that they're asking you to get an app or get online, and the majority of the people in the heaviest hit areas don't have internet access. But thanks to Starlink with Elon Musk and those guys, and even Donald Trump sent some out there too for a cell service. So kudos to them for doing that. I want to leave you with a picture, and this picture hit me different. As a dad, we've heard the stories, kind of like what Trevor was talking about with the children who are looking for their parents. We're talking about young kids who are looking for their parents in riverbanks or on riverbanks, in rivers, in the woods, in wooded areas. Dead bodies up in trees because the water was 30 feet high in some cases, and people still drowned in trees that were 20 and 30 feet high. Lots of really sad stories. The media is showing things at the 30,000 foot level because they don't want to offend or hurt anybody's feelings. In this particular instance, I think that people need to know the truth about what's going on, and we don't need to whitewash it. This picture that I'm about to show you was heartbreaking to me because when I think about the children looking for their parents, in some cases unclothed because the rushing waters have ripped their clothes from them and their parents drowned and they lived, that devastated me when I heard about that. And then I saw this picture, and I can't imagine what this young girl saw, what she heard, what she experienced, and what is going to stick with her for the rest of her life. So thoughts and prayers for not only this little girl and her family, but every single family affected by this horrible tragedy. And I hope the right people step up and stop ignoring the good people of America.